Hi, my name is Bethany Pleager and I'm a Senior Associate in the Governance, Procurement and Information team, sitting within the wider education team at FAQS. I specialise in all things data protection and GDPR. A subject access request is a right to individuals under the UK GDPR, so that's the General Data Protection Regulation. This gives individuals a right to obtain a copy of all the information that an organisation holds about them. In the case of schools and colleges, that might come from a pupil, a parent or from a member of staff. These are usually received in the context of a dispute or a disagreement, so we often commonly see them being received from parents on behalf of their pupils or from members of staff involved in a grievance or disciplinary. Yes, they can. That's the short answer. The bit of a longer answer is that under the GDPR, the right of a child to make a subject access request is the child's right. So if they're of an age where they're old enough to understand their data protection rights, they're able to make that request themselves. So in the case of schools, if a child reaches secondary school age, then they're generally deemed old enough to make the subject access request themselves. So if you receive a subject access request from a parent on behalf of a child that's at secondary school, you're usually going to have to get authorisation or consent from that pupil to confirm that they're happy for mum or dad to make that request on their behalf. Common mistakes that we see relate to redaction and not redacting documents properly. So for example, a document might miss other people's details, leave third-party information in there, or it may take out part of a name and leave the other part in, so it makes it clear who the document is referring to. We've also seen mistakes when we're actually responding to the request, so please take extra care when you're sending out your response. Make sure you double check the email address that you're sending it to and password protect the document if possible. You don't want to end up breaching Data Protection Act when you're trying to comply with some elements but then commit a data breach by responding. That's an important question to ask when we're complying with subject access requests, particularly for our education clients. You need to redact information that isn't the information of the requesters. So any other personal information about other pupils, for example, would need to be redacted. So there are lots of different redaction software that you can use, which will either automatically or manually redact information electronically on your computers. However, if you don't have this software available, you can do it in the good old-fashioned way using Tipp-Ex and a black marker. You just need to really make sure that when you're disclosing that information, you can't see any of the redactions. So you can't hold them up to the light and see through, or you can't undo any redactions that you've done electronically. There are only a couple of circumstances under the GDPR in which you can refuse to comply with a subject access request, and they are if the request is manifestly unfounded or excessive. So that means if there's been an excessive number, so they've made a repetitive number of requests, or it's unfounded. For example, if there's no justification at all, they've not used your services before. In reality, that's a really high bar to meet, especially if the individual has not made a subject access request for you before. So I'd recommend that you seek some legal advice in those circumstances to make sure you can justifiably refuse that request.